Welcome to a world of wonder and second chances. Join us as we explore the captivating story of Mushoku Tensei. Imagine this. A 34-year-old with an ordinary past meets an unexpected end in a collision with a truck. But here's the twist. His story doesn't conclude there. Reborn into a whole new world as a helpless infant, meet Rudy, a person determined to embrace the life he's always dreamed of, with newfound friends, fresh magical abilities, and the courage to chase his lifelong desires. He's setting off on an incredible journey, with all his past experiences as his guide. A much older Rudeus is sitting in a cart with a few other people as they travel through a blizzard. A female veteran-looking adventurer asks him where he's headed, and he hesitantly tells her that he's traveling to the northern continent to look for his mother. So she decides to give him a brief explanation of it, and tells him about the three main kingdoms, Rano, Neris, and Basharant, which is the one they're headed for. After arriving there, they part ways, and Rudeus books a hotel room before going to the Adventurers Guild and requesting a high-ranked mission. Seeing its difficulty, the manager advises him to reconsider and not go solo, but he waves her advice away before the woman from the carriage approaches and asks him if he'd like to join their party since they're also new in the area. He tries to politely decline, but she takes him to meet her party, and they voice their agreement for him joining them as Lolsogi agrees. They meet at the gate the next day and begin their journey while the woman introduces herself as Suzanne. Another mage tells him he's Timothy, Mimir, a healer, Patris, a vanguard, and lastly Sarah, an archer. They make camp at their destination, and Timothy tells Rudeus that their targets are the Luster Grizzlies and a horde of 20 that are asleep, and they begin attacking Timothy, who gets them with his fire spell from afar. The others decide that engaging in close combat won't be necessary when Rudeus hears something before they simultaneously see black grizzlies covered in mud approaching them. They decide to make a run for it and start going in the opposite direction. But Rudeus, who's already exhausted with his life, stays where he is, and a grizzly is about to attack him when Suzanne gets in his way and blocks it. The others return as well and start to fight, but are slowly overwhelmed and try to get away when Rudeus realizes why they're still holding their ground and steps between them and the army of grizzlies before decimating them by summoning a gigantic fireball. The others thank him for saving their lives before returning to the town, where they announce free drinks for everyone in the bar and spend the night joyously celebrating their first ever victory in the town. Rudeus returns to the room and realizes that even though he's going through bad times, things were much worse before he met all the amazing people that made his life worth living, and throws the bunch of Eris hair he'd been holding onto inside the fire. Several months have passed, along with actual adventures. Rudeus also takes on many small tasks and missions to make a name for himself and regularly exercises while looking for his mother, Zenitsuna. He enters the guild and encounters a party taking on a new mission before choosing a small job of paving snow. When he returns, he sees Sarah waiting for him there and tells him that they're going on another mission and asks if he'd like to come. After a moment of indecisiveness, he accepts and they head into the Galga ruins, where their job is to pick out snowdrake scales that have fallen out. As they're walking on a thin bridge, Rudeus sees with his foresight that Sarah is about to fall and quickly grabs her but accidentally clutches her breasts in his hurry. While they're picking the scales, he sees a horde of snowdrakes coming towards them. He warns the others, and they decide to make a run for it, but Rudeus stays behind to delay the lizards, so the others return to help him and are fighting. Then when the leader of the party Rudeus encountered in the guild arrives and swiftly kills all of the beasts, Timothy tries to introduce himself but gets sucker punched for allegedly trying to take over their job. Susan explains that there's been a misunderstanding, and they find out that the ruins are connected to the location of the other party, so the leader apologizes but still refuses to give them more than one lizard for their share. They meet at the bar for the after-party and are discussing the mission when a heavily intoxicated soul, the party leader, walks in and apologizes again for his rude behavior, but then rounds on Rudeus and tells him that he's the worst for always looking down on others, yet still caring about what they think and trying to show a false bravado on the outside, but his teammate takes him away, leaving Rudeus to ponder upon his words. The next day, Suzanne, Timothy, and Patris enter the guild where he's waiting and tell him that while they were out on a mission, Mimir died, and Sarah got separated from them. After hearing that, he excuses himself and goes on a hunt for them. On his way, he encounters a bunch of gigantic stags who he quickly defeats and notices Mimir's corpse lying near them, which he cremates. He notices an unconscious Sarah tied to a tree and quickly grabs hold of her before jumping into a river to avoid potential attacks. She wakes up and once they dry their clothes, they return to the town, where the party wholeheartedly thanks him before he heads back to his room to sleep, but not before happily waving Sarah goodbye. Two things have changed since Rudeus saved Sarah. 1. His name and title, Quagmire Rudeus, has become quite popular in the town, and 2. Sarah has grown a lot close to him and now freely talks to him. They're talking about their past when she tells him that the sword she's been using is getting chipped at the edges before asking him if he'd like to go with her the next day to buy a new one. And he warmly agrees, only later realizing that it was a date. The next day, Rudeus and Sarah stroll around town buying items and having fun the entire day before heading into a quiet bar when night breaks. Rudeus notices the sign she's giving him and decides to go with it by gulping his entire drink in one sip and asking her if he should walk her back to her room. But she blurrily declines, saying they should head to his room. Stealing himself, he agrees, and they enter his room where she takes off her jacket and sits on his bed. He goes to sit beside her, and she tells him that she's grateful for saving her life and tells him to do her. Taking the cue, Rudeus lays her down and starts kissing and undressing her before stretching her legs. He is about to unzip his pants when he notices that his body's giving no reaction at all. Later, he's trying to get his body to react when Sarah leaves, saying that she was trying to repay him and she doesn't really like him. Rudeus goes to a bar to drown out his sorrows when Sol comes by again and starts taunting him before getting punched in the face by Rudeus, who voices all his frustrations to him. Sol tells him to calm down and let him know what the problem is, so Rudeus opens up and is taken to a hostess hotel where he goes into a room with a beautiful girl called Elise, who tries to cure him by trying different things, but it doesn't work. He tells Sol about it and spends the entire night drinking there before going outside at the crack of dawn, where he tipsily proclaims that he doesn't need a bratty little girl like Sarah before turning around to see her standing right behind him. She walks up to him and slaps him before telling him to never talk to her again and throws the sword they bought at his feet. He falls down and tries to stab himself, but Sol stops him and tries to talk some sense into him, but realizes that it's futile and asks him if he'd like to join his party and go with them to Neris, to which Rudeus blankly agrees, and they decide to set off at once. 2 years have passed since Rudeus unofficially joined Sol's party. They're fighting a pack of luster grizzlies in the blizzard when a humongous red dragon attacks from above and quickly defeats a few of the party members. So Rudeus rushes ahead and beats it by attacking it with stone spikes before melting the ground and dropping a colossal boulder on its head. They return to the town, and he's having lunch when a beautiful elfish woman makes her way towards him, proclaiming that she's finally found him and introducing herself as Elinalis. She tells him that she's a friend of Roxy and has been looking for him for some time before noticing a pendant he's wearing and asking if it was made by an elf, to which he replies in the affirmative. Over the course of a week, he finds out how big of a hoe she is since she brings men to her room every day, which annoys him even more since he has erectile dysfunction. One day, she enters his room and tells him that he's received a letter. He opens it to find out that it's penned by the principal of the University of Rano, who's inviting him to become a special student. Rudeus asks a member of Sol's party who went there, and he tells him that it might prove helpful for him since all of the facilities are provided for free. Elinalis agrees, but he decides that his top priority right now is to reunite his family, and decides to pass on the opportunity when the man-god calls him again and tells him that he'll be cured of his erectile problem if he attends the university. He wakes up back in his room with Elinalis sleeping beside him naked and tries to move, but she pulls him to her, and he tries to get his body to respond to his desires again, but it doesn't, so he goes back to sleep. The next day he bids farewell to Sol's party, who tries to shrug it off and play cool, but tells him that when he goes to Rano, they'll go for drinks and women at night again since his ED will be gone by then. Thus, Rudeus begins his journey to the kingdom of Rano with Elinalis, which he reaches after a long journey and happily gets ready to start a new chapter in his life. As we come to the close of our journey through the captivating world of Mushoku Tensei, we'd like to express our gratitude for joining us on this adventure. If you found yourself engrossed in Rudy's extraordinary tale and his pursuit of a new life, don't hesitate to show your appreciation by giving this video a thumbs up and sharing your thoughts down below. And if you're hungry for more anime goodness and captivating stories, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you're always in the loop. Until our paths cross again in another enchanting realm, take care and keep the spirit of exploration alive.